Welcome to SLC Fanboys, three guys who love Star Wars, comic books, gaming, movies, and fangirls. Adam Thomas, self-appointed Starfleet captain and Cylon sympathizer. Andy Farnsworth, comic book Jedi and George Lucas apologist. Tyson Webb, Comic-Con moderator and amateur Sith. These are the SLC Fanboys.
SLC Fanboys, Andy Farnsworth, Adam Thomas. We're live at Sundance 2017. We're really excited to have two from the new movie Red Dog.
Red Dog, True Blue.
True Blue.
It was colon. Was it colon, full blue?
Yeah.
I think it could be colon.
Yes. Well, we've got Jason Isaacs and Levi Miller. We're so glad to have you guys.
I'd say it's very lovely to be here.
Yes.
Let's get in out of the slush, the crazy slush out there.
Yeah.
Waist deep.
It's like driving through it all the way.
Yeah, I believe you.
It was interesting. But, so tell us a little bit about Red Dog, True Blue. So it's a story set in Australia.
This is true. It's a film. Well, there was a film called Red Dog, which was a massive sensation, one of the biggest films Australia's ever made. And the Australian public were clamouring for another one. And they didn't want to make a traditional sequel. So they made a kind of parallel piece that you can watch completely by itself. But if you saw the first one, it adds extra things to it. And it's a gorgeous family film about a man, a dog, his family, the outback, every kind of Australian archetype you've ever come across. It's a 4 Kleenex movie. That's what it is.
4 Kleenex.
In a family way.
No, that's good, because I got a bunch of children, so I always like the family films. I was just saying, like, I didn't know Sundance brought out a lot of family-friendly films.
They don't.
I'm excited to see this.
They don't. We're in the inaugural kids and family section here. We're screening, and we're excited to see it here.
Well, maybe that's why I haven't seen it.
That might be why.
The inaugural one.
And obviously we play brothers. No. I play the older him, or he plays the younger me. And Levi goes for a big adventure, which is it's a rite of passage movie. Why am I talking all the time? It's about you, the film. Come on now, Levi. What's the film about?
Well, it's about a boy who meets a dog. I mean, it's primarily the beginning of it, but it's a journey of their relationship as it grows and as it forms into, well, two best mates,
Well,
really.
it's not much more basic than a boy and his dog. I mean, that's universal.
Yes, that's true. But also, it's a love story. It's me and my wife grown up. It's a family reuniting, but it's the quintessential summer that you spend when you turn from being a boy to a man, I think, and all the forces that come to prey on you. Apart from that, it's shot in a part of Australia that we were just in a virtual reality place, and it feels like virtual reality. It feels like going to another planet, this place that they shot.
Live there feels like being in virtual reality.
Where they shot the Pilbara,
Yes.
the kind of mining country, it feels like Mars. Yeah, it's an extraordinary place. If possible, you should try and see this either on a big screen, or if you're watching on a small screen at home, sit very, very close to the telly.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you have to work with a lot of animals on set? What was that like?
Was it just one dog, or did you have more than one?
Well, there were other dogs, but I only worked with Phoenix, primarily.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only dog I really worked with. And by the end of the film, I had a very, very fond relationship with him. It was quite sad to say goodbye to him.
It was tough to say goodbye.
Yes, he was...
There were other dogs. There were dogs that could hit a mark. There were dogs that can, play the emotional scenes. There were dogs that can juggle the origami. They're very different dogs. But one of them was the kind of Marlon Brando of the dog world that
is in this movie.
Yeah, did most of the emotional scenes. It was amazing. I mean, Phoenix was...
Yes, he was extraordinary.
Because an animal having to convey emotions, that you actually have a dog that's good at conveying emotions. And
obviously,
it's not something that you would think about unless you were thinking about making a movie.
The editing helps. There are moments where you don't normally see Marlon Brando put his leg up against a lamppost, either. But
that's true. Well, not that made it onto film.
No, but also there's a lot. I mean, it's a lot about families. More than the first one was almost exclusively about the dog. This one's about the dog and you and your grandpa and other people and falling in love and learning to be a man and learning what family's about.
So you have 2 daughters, Jason?
I have 2 daughters, yeah, and 1 dog.
And 1 dog?
Yeah.
Did you feel longing for your dog when you were working with Phoenix?
Well,
did you miss your dog, I guess?
My scenes are with this fantastic actress, Justine Clarke in Australia, who I didn't know was a huge children's TV star there. I had no idea. She was this magnificent actress. And it was about a dysfunctional dysfunctional. It's about a marriage where maybe the man's not been paying enough attention to his kids and not paying enough attention to his wife and just been too busy with work, which I think is a very familiar story. And I kind of bookend the story. And at some point, I sit with my son, who I'm slightly estranged from, and I begin to open up and tell him about growing up with this dog in this summer that meant so much to me. And I was shooting a different, very traumatic film about a terrorist attack in Australia. And they screened this for me, which I'd shot the year before, with the cast and crew. And we were all just embarrassing, helpless messes of tears and snot when it finished. So I think there's something very universal about both my story and then Levi's story in it as well.
Is that what attracted you to the project, or?
Yeah, I try and look for things that are truthful and interesting and emotional. And I'm not that interested in plot. I'm far more interested in things that make you feel something. And so I shot my bit, and then when I went to see the film, I realised that this bugger's actually 95% of it, and I'm just the beginning and end. But he carries the movie beautifully.
Now, interestingly enough, so as I was doing a little bit of research with you guys in the movie together, you were in Pan. That's what I remembered you from. And many people remember you as Captain Hook in Peter Pan. So two completely different versions of Pan about a decade apart.
They were both shot in Australia.
Captain Hook and Peter Pan are together.
It was actually shot in London.
Oh, you shot yours in London?
Yes,
I shot mine in Australia.
Really?
Yeah. Actually, I had a story. PJ Hogan.
You're English and he's Australian.
We had an Australian director, and PJ Hogan, who directed My Best Friend's Wedding, Muriel's Wedding, and various other fabulous films. He initially came to me and he said, when I was cast, he said, you're going to love what's going on, Jace. Pack your bags. He goes, we're going to shoot Captain Hook's harbour in Hawaii, and then we're going to shoot the interiors, I think probably in Malta, and then the rainforest. We're going to go probably to Guatemala and shoot the rainforest. I was sitting there drooling at the table.
Punishing job
I know.
being an actor.
And then he came back about a month later and went, oh my God, I've just seen the visual effects. We can shoot the whole thing in a green box in Brisbane. And I went, that's fantastic. So yeah, I didn't get to move around a lot. Where you were on a set in London most of it?
Yes, yeah, we were in a studio just outside of London, Leavesden, which is actually
where we shot Harry Potter.
Yes, Harry Potter, but also in a place just outside of London and outside of Leavesden in these two huge stages that could both fit the Titanic with just the nose pointing out. They were called Cardington stages, and they were incredible because they built all the sets, like where you stood. They built them all. I mean, there were obviously green screen, blue screen, for the sunset or the background or whatever, but it was primarily built sets, which was...
Yeah, we were on the ship. Captain Hook's ship was on a gimbal. You on a gimbal?
Yes.
Yeah, so
gimbal for the
gimbal
ships.
is like a remote control thing where it wobbles backwards and forwards.
Yeah, don't have to shake the cameras. You can actually experience it.
Yeah, and the first day, everybody's throwing up. PJ was just puking everywhere. And then everyone sort of...
Sick on land.
I don't. I'm fine. Although at night I'd be standing in front of the fringe thinking there was an earthquake going on because I was just swaying backwards and forwards. But PJ, unfortunately, had to wear those travel bands and was green for most of the shoot. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, Levi, you've had a number of credits already to your name. Do you... And then you do this movie where you're the star and you're the bulk of the movie. How challenging...
The dog would be very upset to hear that, but I know what you're saying. Yeah.
How challenging was that for you to prepare for that, knowing that you're going to basically have to carry this movie? With apologies to the dog, of course.
I mean, obviously with Pan, it was the same sort of thing, with everyone else, of course, incorporated, and same as this film. There's so many different people in it that make the film.
Yeah, the legend that is Brian Brown.
Exactly.
Who is Australia. Yeah.
And the dog, obviously, which provided a lot more than what I would expect of a dog to provide. I mean, I felt when I was with him, I felt the real emotion with him. And as I was saying, by the end of the film, I was more than in tears to say goodbye to him. But luckily, I've been able to see him again.
Yeah, what happened to that? I mean, is someone else? Does the dog appear in other motion pictures?
He had a much
projects?
better deal. He's retired to the Bahamas playing golf now. Yeah. A very good agent.
So kind of like Marlon Brando.
Yeah, no, he's around. Finn is around, I think.
Yes.
And but also there's a lot of other fantastic actors, some Aboriginal actors in it. And there's a young woman that Levi falls in love with he's punching slightly above his weight at that point. And there's other young Australian actors. It's a quintessentially Australian film. And what that means is my experience is when you make something that is specific, it becomes universal. So it represents all the archetypes there. But there's something in it that you recognise of your own world. There's one character somewhere that you can plug into. Do you think that's fair?
Yes,
well,
absolutely.
Speaking of English and Australian, now, English, Australian, which is the harder accent to do? English to do Australian or American? or Australian to do English or American? Which accent is harder to do?
Actually, we're just talking about accents.
Yeah.
At lunch. I find accents very, very easy because I'm not that comfortable with my own accent. I prefer to be other people. And I've always had that terrible social disease where I just adopt whoever's accent I'm talking to, which now I have children is incredibly embarrassing to them. So I find it much easier to act in an accent. I'm Australian in the film. But you've done American a lot. And how do you find it?
Well, I mean, with Australian accent, it's quite a mix of different people's accents. So, I mean, it's quite easy to flip between Australian, English, American, really whatever there is, because it's such, I feel like, a wide range of dialect in it.
Do you stay in it all day? I stay in the accent all day. I find it much easier than going in and out of it.
Oh, when on set?
Yeah.
Well, I kind of go in and out of it.
Right.
I'm not in the scenes, obviously, but...
Hopefully
yeah,
not.
right.
He tells me you'd have to shoot those again.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I go in and out of it. I feel like it's fit to me.
Right.
And see, I have 3 nieces who live just north of London.
Can you do their accent?
Well, I believe that I can.
Right.
I'm not going to demo it here.
There's nothing worse than Americans doing a bad English accent.
Really?
It's excruciating. Yeah.
Well, you know, I kind of say the same thing for anybody doing a bad Southern accent, because I grew up in North Carolina, and I cannot stand a bad Southern accent or if it's forced. You know, like if a movie, just because a movie is set in Atlanta, Georgia, does not mean everybody has to talk like they're right out of Dukes of Hazzard.
No, my friends from the South, what they really hate is the lack of specificity. So people do an accent, they do a generalized kind of big South, whereas they're all actually slightly different accents. You've got to be specific. What's great when you're an outsider like us, if you do an American accent, I had to do Rhode Island for Brotherhood, for instance.
Well, that's a tough one.
But it's specific, so there's no such thing as a generic American accent. No such thing as a generic British accent.
Yes.
You know, everybody is from somewhere, and you can hear those influences. And if you're an outsider, you build those things. When we did Brotherhood, Jason Clarke and I had to be from Providence, and we found it easier to do the accent than the people from Boston, because they were from down the road, and they're just not used to doing accents. Whereas as Brits and Australians, you're used to doing accents. That's part of your craft.
A movie I thought that did wonderful Southern accents because they weren't forced. The Patriot, which was shot south of Charlotte, right there in historic
in Rock Hill.
Yep.
Yeah.
And one of the actors on the movie, Leon Rippey, is from that area.
Yeah.
So I think he helped kind of provide a little bit of an endorsement for the other voices heard. But no one adopted kind of a forced.
Now, we
Southern
lived in
accent.
Rock Hill for 6 months. It's not a big town. It's a town of about 400 people and 900 churches.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
We lived there. I remember we stayed in the Hampton Inn, Rock Hill, and every time you call down, the people who work there, the lovely ladies who work there, we give them this 4 sentences, and they go, "Welcome to the Hampton Inn, Rock Hill, where your company's at." And I go, "Just bring me a towel. Stop. I don't need to hear that again." Every time. I've been here for 6 months. But yeah, it's easier. I was English in it, but I think they found it easier. It's always easier when you're in the actual place to do the accent.
Do you ever take a little flack from people? I know sometimes people cannot separate the actor from the character, and in The Patriot, that is a rough villain. I mean, you did some stuff as the character.
Killed some kids. I burned some women. I mean, we've all got skeletons in our cupboards, haven't we? I'm just trying to win the war.
I mean, and I was just thinking the other day when we booked the interview, going through that process from what I know of shooting a movie, I mean, you would have had, like a whole week where you have to show up every day and it's Tom Wilkinson yelling at you pretty much. And then the next week you're
scary dude.
You're bayoneting Heath Ledger. That's what you have to do this week. I mean, is that tough to be a villain and have to do kind of...
Well, first of all, what's tough is bad scripts, and that was a fantastic script. It was a great part. So that's easy to act because then you believe it. It's a believable guy who's trying to win the war. He had nothing to go back to England for. His father had gambled away his heritage, and so he was trying to win some territory himself. But the truth is, on that film, Mel and Heath and I flew out a month early to Carolina, and all we did every day was ride horses, sword fight, and learn to load and fire muskets.
Wow.
And every day we go, we're getting paid for this. Can you believe this? So I had an army to command, and it was about as much fun as grown-ups get to have.
Yeah, I enjoyed watching that movie in the theaters then, and I remember walking out, because I was in college, and it wasn't like I was, like 8 or 9 and still trying to grasp the difference between reality and fiction. And I remember walking out there and go, man, Colonel Tavington,
he's a piece of work.
You know, like, I was this close to speaking to the screen when I saw the movie.
People screamed abuse. I went to a press screening of it the night before, because I had to meet journalists and talk about it. I hadn't seen it, so I went to a press screening, and I went in when the lights go down, and people were just hurling abuse at me on the screen. I mean, I don't know if I can swear or cuss on your thing, but they were saying the worst kind and I began to bristle, and then about 5 minutes in, I thought, oh no, that's good. That's actually the way it ought to be.
Your job.
Yeah, it's fine.
Would you ever see yourself in that kind of role? I mean, where it could be potentially very identifiable as a villain? I mean, would you be interested in doing something like that?
I did do one at the beginning of the year.
Oh.
It was, I did it from the beginning of the year. That was quite a gruesome. Maybe it's a different kind of film. Not my role especially, but the film itself is quite different. It's a different type of film. So that was interesting to do. To play an actual villainous character. I mean,
there's no such thing as villains. Everybody always thinks they're right. The man who's sitting in the White House today thinks he's right about everything, and millions of people are marching today saying he's wrong. You never play a villain. You just play someone who thinks they're right. They just have different ideas. So when you get a good script, you'll be brilliant at it. Because you look so innocent, you'll be a fantastic villain.
Oh, thank you.
Well, it's a pleasure.
Now, we got to ask, and my kids would, never forgive me if I didn't ask you about Lucius Malfoy.
Ask away. What was it?
One of the things that I like about, so I'm going to...
Don't spoil it, because he's only on book 3.
I've seen all the films. Though.
Oh, have you seen
I've seen all the films, but...
And I've been reading them to my kids.
Okay.
And I try to copy all the movie accents when I read.
Good luck with that. Yeah.
I love doing it. I have to kind of do it through, clenched teeth.
Yeah.
That's kind of...
I tried to come up with... Well, when I got the job, Alan Rickman had already been Snape in the first film, and Alan, who was the greatest screen villain of our age, certainly. So, I wanted everything. I wanted a funny voice, I wanted a walking stick, I wanted a wig, and I wanted everything I could do. And I tried to come up with a voice that was like fingernails on a blackboard. I wanted to come up with the most unpleasant voice that within one syllable, it got the hairs on the back of your neck up. And Chris Columbus, the director, slightly panicked when I did it the first day. And he went, "Can I just ask you a question? Because I'm American. Is there anybody who's ever talked like that?" And I said, "Well, no. But it's a film about wizards." He goes, "Do you mind if I get the producer? Can I get the producer down just to listen? Because I don't know." Sure. So the producer came down, and we did the first take again, and we did it again. And David, who's a producer, who's an old friend of mine, came up and went, "That's quite extreme, your accent." And I went, "Yeah, that's right. I'm going for something extreme." He went, and Daniel, who was all of 12, went, "I think it's really cool." And they both looked at him, and he went, "Just think it's like kids will be doing that in the playground." And they went, "All right. Let's go with that." And otherwise, who knows what it would have sounded like.
Well, and I don't think I ape it very well, but that's why I say I when I talk about accents, I actually try to think, how are they moving their mouth?
Yeah.
Kinds of things that
He's very, very uptight. He's a very, very uptight man. And
so I was right.
he's dripping with superiority and terror, because that's what bullies are. Bullies are cowards.
Do you so I'm going to say about the villain again. Do you enjoy playing the role that's going to be perceived as the villain by the audience? No, because I just have to believe it. So I'm in a Netflix series at the moment called The OA, and that guy does some very questionable things morally, but he absolutely believes in the mission that he's on, doing the things he's doing. So I don't like it when I read something and it's clearly written just to make the audience boo, because I don't believe it. And if I don't believe it, then I won't believe it on camera, and the audience won't believe me. So I just like reading things that make sense to me. Just good stories. Okay, so if you were in a James Bond movie, would you rather be James Bond or his opponent? Either one of you.
Bonus points if you have a name for
the opponents die. The opponents die every film. So who wants to do that? You just do one film. I'd like to be Moneypenny. That's what I'd like to be. Waltz in for a few weeks every now and again. Flirt with James Bond. Thank you. Ka-ching. Move on.
Female James Bond. That's got to come eventually, and then you could be.
I'm not sure it does have to come. I'm not sure they know exactly what they're doing. I don't think they need to change very much. But definitely, they're looking for the next generation. Levi. Got to get down the gym a little bit.
Yeah, I think so.
You'll be fine.
So when you guys aren't shooting movies and television series, are there things that you guys are fanboys, and we always ask because we are the SLC Fanboys, are there any other particular TV series or movies, genre of movies, that you guys consider yourselves fanboys of, or even an actor or an actress, I've got to see that?
Who makes you fanboy out?
I am a tennis groupie. So I watch the Australian Open's on at the moment, which is tough for me at Sundance because I'm up all night long. I have to see every single stroke of the game. In fact, I have to stand. Well, Djokovic, I don't know what's going on with his personal life, but he's got to get his stuff together. But I stand when I watch. I can't even sit and watch. I have to stand in front of the TV, because I'm a tennis player as well. I play a lot. So I'm when I meet sports stars, I did a series on NBC a few years ago, and they had a party and they brought all the Olympiads here because they had the Olympics at the time. And you'd meet these giant guys. Someone would go, "Hey, how you doing? I'm Michael. I'm a swimmer." And I go, "I know who you are." So sports. It's sports men and women that always make me go slightly weak at the knee. What about you? Who have you met that you've ever been intimidated by?
Or that you'd love to meet?
Yeah.
Oh, that I'd love to meet. Well, I'm working on a film at the moment that's with Oprah Winfrey. So, I mean,
Whoa.
I couldn't think of anyone else. Like, I mean, ever since I first read about her, like, her life story and everything, I mean, I couldn't think of anyone more that I would have liked to have met. So,
Does she give
I'm
good
pretty
advice?
fulfilled. She's yes. I mean, she definitely does. She's very fun. She's a great person.
Right.
She's a great person to be around.
Does she try and fix things? Do you ever feel like you're in her show? Does she ever go, here's what you want to do?
I mean, I haven't really worked with her thoroughly yet, but she doesn't seem, if you're trying to say controlling, no. Like,
No, I didn't mean that. I would just regard her as my free therapist. I would
Right.
pour
Oh, I see,
all of
yes,
my
yeah,
troubles
yeah.
out to
Free
her.
therapy or a car,
Yeah.
look under you. Oh,
that's
car,
right.
it's keys for a new car. Wow.
I would just want her to take over my life and tell me what to do and how to live.
No, I mean, so would I. Yeah.
So, any other projects you guys have in the pipeline that we can look for in 2017? The OA is obviously continuing.
OA is, I've got a film out in a couple of weeks as well, Cure for Wellness, the Gore Verbinski film. It's a thriller, suspenseful horror thing with Dane DeHaan. Then I've got a film, I got a bunch of stuff coming out. You don't want to hear, you've got some stuff coming out. Let's talk about your stuff. What you got?
This year? I mean, I don't even know the schedule of everything coming out. I have another Australian film coming out.
Not as good as this one, though. It's not as good as Red Dog True Blue. Are you coming to Berlin? This film's going to the Berlin Festival as well.
Yes,
There's a lot of publicity
hope
to
to
do.
make it. Hope to make it.
And there's a film called Death of Stalin that Armando Iannucci wrote and directed. He's the guy who created Veep.
Okay.
And made Veep and In the Loop. And it's a political satire about the few days after Stalin died with some crazy cast in it. Steve Buscemi and Jeffrey Tambor and Michael Palin and Paddy Considine and all these people.
That sounds funny already.
It's insane. And then a very serious film about the terrorist siege in the Taj Hotel in Mumbai in 2008 called Hotel Mumbai. And a young adult thriller called Behind the Glass with India Isley. You know who that is? No, I see absolute blankness in your eyes. That's all right. Teenagers know who she is. That's fine. And stuff, an animated film.
If that's worth anything.
You know, I have to go to work all the time. My kids and my wife need me out of the house.
One thing I find interesting about you, Jason, and since we're the fanboys, our biggest things is Star Wars, Star Trek, and comic book. I mean, those are our favorite
Right.
things. You had a big collection of comic books.
Oh, no, I'm a geek. I go to conventions sometimes because of the Harry Potter and other fantasy things, and I can't walk around. It kills me because I grew up reading comic books. Daredevil was my favorite because he didn't have any special skills. He taught himself. So I would just close my eyes, walk around, and just destroy the furniture in my house, trying to train myself to have his skills. But, I read them all, and in fact, I associate them with pain. Because we used to go and get fish and chips, which is a very British and Australian thing, actually, isn't it?
Yes.
And we used to go and get fish and chips, and then I would go next door to the newsagent, sweet shop, and was able to buy comics from the used box there. So I never read them in sequence, which was very hard to work out. But what I associate with comics is we'd all come back, we'd watch them in front of the telly, and I would read them, and I would always cut my fingers slightly on these, whatever they used to make them, they were sharper, but I cut my fingers, and the salt from the fish and chips would get in. So I see comic books, and I somehow associate with stinging pains in my fingers. So it's a very visceral memory. Yeah, I know. Yeah. But I love them. I still love them. And actually, I think Marvel and DC people complain about the DC films. They're not as fun as Marvel. They were always very different characters and different comics. And in some ways, I think the films embody the difference in the artwork and in the approach they had. I love it all.
I'm not one who bags on DC for the darker choice or whatever because I feel like they're taking a look at things in like a post 9/11 kind of.
Yeah.
Like if someone came to Earth like that now, how would it be? And so.
Also, Chris Nolan kicked it all off with the Dark Knight stuff, and that's pretty dark.
But they're trying to imagine what would this happen if these were in real life. I'm okay with it, although I'm hearing that they're going to lighten up the universe. That's what The Rock was saying.
I like seeing what happens every time with Batman's abs. And then when Joel
evolution.
Schumacher came in and gave him the missiles and all that stuff, and Ben is obviously much bigger than Christian Bale and stuff. We'll see what happens. I have to say, thank God for films like Red Dog and the other films that you're making, the films at the Sundance Festival, because I wouldn't want there to be wall-to-wall Lycra at the cinema. It's nice for there to be other things to see as well.
And, I have to prep myself for ones that I know are going to be emotional. So I have to decide how I'm going to sit in relation to my children when I see Red Dog.
Right.
So that the tears come out the opposite side.
Well, funny enough, that happens in the film. What kickstarts the story is that I'm forced to take my kids to the cinema, and I'd much rather be working. And I go, and they want to go and see Red Dog, and they notice that I'm crying. And I try and hide exactly that. I try and hide it from them. And then when we're back home later on, the kid plays my son Zen says, "Why were you crying?" I said, "I wasn't crying. I had an allergy. I think I had sneezed. I can't remember what I said to him." But yeah, it's them noticing that their dad is human. That's what's universal about it, because, of course, our kids think that we're gods until they hit their teens and they realise we're idiots and know nothing.
Can you cry on cue, or do you need help?
No, you know what? I find it easy to cry when the story in the script takes me there, and when it doesn't, I find it almost impossible. And there are various things you do as an actor, but it's always, when there's babies, when anything to do with kids, my kids, someone else's kids, a dysfunctional family, I go, and babies being born. I've had a number of those scenes where I've had to really stop myself because I just turned into a big snot fest. Yeah.
Levi, do you like the comic book movies? Did you get a chance to see them?
Many of the recent ones?
Yeah.
No, I haven't seen many of the recent ones. I think I saw the Batman vs Superman.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Who won? I didn't see it. Who won?
It was a tie.
Pretty much.
I mean, it wouldn't be, would it?
It was a tie.
It wouldn't be. Superman.
What's
A demigod versus a man with...
One guy's done a bit of martial arts training, got some gadgets. The other guy's from Krypton. Come on, that's not a fair fight. So what are your favourite films?
The challenge for Batman.
My favorite films?
Yeah.
Like all around?
Yeah.
I love Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, superb film.
I mean,
And
good
you're like
choice.
in the cradle of Napoleon
Good
Dynamite
choice.
love.
Very
here.
Sundance,
That's Park
yeah.
City, Utah is going to be about. That's I hadn't seen that movie until I moved out here about 10 years ago. And when I said I haven't seen Napoleon Dynamite, I mean, I got these shocked looks. I'm like, okay, I'll go see it. And then I've seen it about 3 or 4 times. I was like, okay, well, now I get it.
No, it's superb.
I've seen it 4 times in the last 6
Me too.
months.
But isn't it hard? No, I don't mean to be too cheesy about publicising our film, but isn't it hard to find things you can watch with your kids?
Yes.
How old are yours?
14, and then I have 6 kids. I got a 14-year-old.
Oh, my God.
And 3-year-olds.
You need to get out more. Sorry, that's a lot of kids.
It is a lot of kids, and they're all mine.
I have a 14 well, so you think. But anyway, I'm just saying, I have a 14 and an 11-year-old, and it's really hard to find things to watch together. We watch Parks and Rec together, so TV is a little bit easier, Modern
Flash,
Family.
By the way, if you don't watch The Flash, they'll love
Okay.
The Flash. You're talking comic books.
Yeah, but to find things that teenagers don't think is pathetic and cheesy and little kids don't find beyond them is tough. It's one of the reasons I wanted to do this. Like you say, I've murdered a lot of people. The OA, my kids are not going to be watching me do that stuff. So it's great to find something that, in the horrible business talk they talk, is a 4-quadrant film, meaning you can take grandma and you can take your kid there. It's a lovely thing to have.
Well, we really appreciate you guys coming on with us today. Thank you so much. And
Thanks.
good luck with Red Dog, True Blue. We're looking forward to seeing it.
Thank you. When you interview Phoenix the dog, ask him to call me.
Not taking even
Nothing.
responding or your
Not a text, nothing. Sad. Exclamation mark.
Well, thanks, Jason. Levi Miller.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.